We have a $1.6 trillion deficit, and these modest proposals by the Republicans, and agreed with Obama and Reid, they call it draconian. Did you know that during the 8 days that Speaker Boehner and the Democrats were negotiating for $38.5 billion, the United States government ran up a deficit of $54 billion? Think about that, just in those 8 days, and they're talking about the rest of the year. But then we've learned from the Congressional Budget Office in the past couple of days that the so-called $38.5 billion in cuts are actually $352 million. To put this fraud in the proper perspective, this budget cut was the same as cutting your $10,000 monthly family budget by 90 cents. And the Democrats called it draconian. Think about this, 90 cents. If you had a $10,000 monthly budget, they cut it by the equivalent of 90 cents. That's what these cuts meant. Now, do we have any public sector union members here? Doesn't look like too many. Do you watch David Letterman? Dave indicated that one of the ways you can tell if a person might be a member of a public sector union is when he takes a week off of work to protest in Wisconsin, his office never ran better. Dave also pointed out that when it is a snow day and they say non-essential people should stay home, he knows who they mean. Dave also said that the person might be a member of a public sector union if he gets paid twice as much as the private sector person during doing the same job, but makes up the difference by doing the half as much work. We hear from the left that the Tea Party movement is racist. And I want to address this because it's kind of been pushed aside. The left should know about racism. As I mentioned earlier, the names of the left calls their opponents is a good indicator of who they are themselves. While we only oppose Obama's policies, it was indeed racist how the left attacked Clarence Thomas when he was nominated to the Supreme Court. It was racist how they honored the former Ku Klux Klan leader when he was senator from South Carolina just a few years ago. And it was indeed racist when the left referred to the very accomplished Condoleezza Rice as Aunt Jemima. And today it is racist the way the leftist media is treating the very great new congressman from Florida, Congressman Allen West. I simply do not share Obama's vision or value system of America, but nor do I share Nancy Pelosi's or Harry Reid's. I do not share Obama's view that America is arrogant, but based on what I've observed over the last few years, he seems pretty arrogant to me. This is just another example of the left making a reference that provides a good indicator of who they are. I do not share Obama's belief in how to rework the healthcare system. Do you? And apparently 55% of Americans, 30 state attorneys general, and a federal judge in Florida don't either. I don't like Obama's corporate welfare to Chrysler, General Motors, Citigroup, Goldman Sachs, and General Electric. We now have proof that the Obama so-called stimulus plan was nothing more than a $1 trillion political payoff to his special interest supporters. I resent that Obama has used taxpayer money to redistribute wealth, with a great deal of it going to large corporations. The media gets its knickers in a bunch when people call Obama a socialist. Have we ever heard him apologize telling Joe the plumber that the government needs to respread the wealth? That is one of the basic tenets of socialism. Karl Marx is famously quoted as saying, "From each according to his abilities, and to each according to his needs." Another thing the mainstream media has done in an effort to balance out their affinity towards collectivism is to conveniently place fascism on the right of the political spectrum. As an economic system, fascism is socialism with a capitalist veneer. The word derives from fasces, the Roman symbol of collectivism and power. Back in the 1920s and 1930s, fascism was seen as the happy medium between profit-oriented egotism and revolutionary Marxism. Where socialism seeks totalitarian control of a society's economic processes through direct state operation of the means of production, fascism seeks the control of indirectly through domination of nominally private owners. We have witnessed through the crony capitalism of the Obama administration, with multi-billion-dollar bailouts of his corporate supporters and Obamacare waivers for his corporate friends and left-leaning unions. The media may not like it, but if they don't like socialist as the label for their hero, I have to admit that fascist is a far more accurate description. The latest collectivist effort in Washington is to tax the rich. Now, according to the Internal Revenue Service, the entire taxable income of everyone in the United States who earned over $100,000 in 2008 was $1.58 trillion. That is more than the deficit. I mean, less than the deficit. Just if you took 100% of everybody's income. Even if every dollar that was earned over $100,000 was taxed at 100%, it still wouldn't cover Obama's deficit this year alone. Now, prior to Rick Santelli's clarion call, we were just too complacent. Back in the 1970s, the media referred to us as the silent majority. But we are silent no more. Despite all the name-calling, we are not going away. Please tell your like-minded friends who are sitting at home on their couch right now what Pericles said over 2,400 years ago. Just because you do not take an interest in politics does not mean that politics will not take an interest in you. I would like to close by quoting two of Western civilization's great leaders during World War II. First, General Dwight Eisenhower, who said, "What counts is not necessarily the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog." And secondly, I say to you what Winston Churchill said during the darkest days of World War II. Never, 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 never give up. God bless America.